What's up, everybody? Clint here with another no-nonsense bike review. And you know how I do it. Low production quality and the truth. That's our motto here. So I've got a giant Trance Advanced 29er. Bought it as a frame only and built it up. And everything's new except for the wheels and the handlebars. Pretty much everything else got brand new. Well, the cranks I had as well, but anyway, this bike comes in right at 28 pounds on the money with pedals. So I'm replacing the YT Izzo I had with this bike. So this is 120 rear, 130 front. And I was a little skeptical. I was a little worried. The YT Izzo is a very stiff, efficient pedaling machine. And this has 10 millimeters less travel in the rear. But riding it, I would have thought the opposite. Giant has done an amazing job. Look at this paint job, by the way. That's a sweet color. I just have some really ugly applied frame protection in various spots. Anyway, this 120, I've got to talk about the rear end of this bike. I think it's very progressive. It pedals extremely efficiently, but it uses the stroke very efficiently. I don't think I've bottomed this thing out yet, and I've taken it off some decent sized jumps and not landed the most smoothly. Here's what I think is the Izzo, the kinematic, and the way they had it set up, it was very stiff in the initial part of the stroke, and then it ramped up a lot at the end, but the mid stroke of the Izzo was kind of empty. Whereas this, it just feels like it gives you what you need. It's not harsh. It's plusher than the Izzo, but it feels like it gives you what you need it to give you, but it doesn't waste any travel by having sort of an empty zone in the compression curve. So I have been very happy with this. I've ridden it about 35 miles now. I've ridden 10 miles doing laps at a bike park in Steelville, Missouri, which the bike park, the trails are very like something you'd find in Bentonville, Arkansas. Flow trails, jumps, tabletops. One of the trails has some pretty decent sized jumps and drops on it. And then you just pedal back to the top to a central hub and do it all over again. And I had a blast on this thing. I'm running it in the high mode. In the high mode, it's about a half a degree slacker than the Izzo was. And so it feels to me a little more sure-footed going downhill without giving anything up on the climb. I climbed in there's an extremely steep spot at Steelville it's really a challenge climb. It's really meant to be a downhill trail, but nobody hardly rides it. And I climbed up it on this thing, no problem, no wheelies, no loop outs. So far, and I also did a full lap around the Berryman Loop, which is a very, very rough 26-mile loop. I was the only one out there on Labor Day and got all the spider webs for myself. And that trail's eroded and rough. And I think I was running a little too much pressure in the shock. Giant recommends 20 to 25% sag on this bike, but I think that's too much. Yes, it will pedal like a hardtail, but on a really rough trail, I don't think that's necessarily an advantage. Oh, here's my son spinning the wheel. Say hi, York.
Hi.
Okay. I'm making a video, bud. Can you back up for a minute? Okay. So, sorry for the jump cut here. I had to pause it. I need to talk about a couple parts on this bike that they are special. I'm telling you. Not as special. I'm trying out this giant Romero SL saddle, and it has been great for me. It's a lot like a Specialized bridge, just with better padding and lighter and a little more refined. This dropper post is the Trance Giant branded post, and it is internally adjustable from 140 to 170. I've got it running 170. You can see I've got about 10 millimeters. I could slam it more. It slams very easily. There's plenty of insertion depth. I might actually change it to 140 for the BT Epic, just so when I'm flopping down, I'm not sitting as far down and don't have to stand up as high. So that's all been good. But man, I'll tell you, the two things on this bike that just make it stand out is this Manitou Mattoc Pro fork, and these are Hayes Dominion A4 brakes. All right. So admittedly, installing these, the Manitou Mattoc, it's internally adjustable travel anywhere from 110 to 150. It came as 140. I lowered it to 130, and I had to take an angle grinder to a cassette tool because I didn't want to spend $60 or $70 on what's just a normal cassette tool that's been grinded out. So I did it myself, filed it out to try to smooth it up. It's a miracle I didn't scratch anything, but I managed to take care of that. And this fork, it's 34 millimeter stanchions. This fork, if Manitou had the distribution and the connections that Fox does, this absolutely should be a Fox 34 killer. I had the new version of the 34 Grip 2 damper in that YT Izzo, and I'm telling you, I will take this fork every time over it. It's lighter, it's stiffer, but it's plusher. It doesn't seem to just blow through the travel till it ramps up. It's got 2 air chambers. This is like the IRT is kind of like their ramp up chamber, and then lower you put in the main chamber. And y'all, I set this thing to the recommended settings, and it's like perfect. I don't think I've even bottomed out, but I'm definitely not feeling like it's too stiff or harsh. It's got high speed and low speed compression adjustment, and the clicks, the adjusting on this feels so refined and so good. Nothing vague. Nice. I mean, and with this paint job, I just felt like the silver and the gold Kashima it works for me. This Manitou Mattoc Pro fork should absolutely be a Fox killer. I don't know how it compares to a Pike. I know it's about 200 plus grams lighter than a Pike, but gosh, it's a good fork. Stiffer, man, it was much more enjoyable to ride. And then these Hayes Dominion brakes, holy smokes, y'all. When we were installing it, my buddy Kyle and I, we were really questioning whether or not this was worth it, because on the rear brake, somebody from the factory over-torqued. There are 2 different bleed port screws for the rear, and you can use either one. You don't have to use them both. It's kind of weird that way, but we broke 4 T10 bits trying to loosen it, and eventually we had one left. We took a little electric impact gun. We took a torch and heated up all around it, and then that's what broke it loose. And then I think we kind of did a bad bleed job, and I'm telling you, it doesn't even matter. These brakes, we apparently did a good job on the front though. They are so strong without being light switchy. I would say that you can modulate them like SRAM, but they have the solid feel of Shimano. These brakes are so much better. I did not have the right adapter I needed, and I was waiting for the rotor to come in, but I really wanted to ride, so I just put a 160 on the front, okay? I've got a 203 in my kitchen right now. I put a 180 on the back that I had. I am seriously considering just leaving the 160 on the front because these brakes are so strong. I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. All right, last thing, tires. Got a Specialized ground control T7s, front and rear. And I went with the T7 because there's a little extra layer of protection in there that the T5 does not have. So I'm a little heavier, I'm a little over 190 without gear or clothes or anything, and I just didn't trust the T5. And from all reviews I had seen, these roll pretty fast, and yeah, I think they do. I can confirm that. They're kind of very drama-free tires. They definitely corner better and just have more stability than like a Vittoria Sierra that I've tried. Although I think the Sierra probably rolls faster for sure. It's more of a true cross-country tire. But for this size bike, they seem just about right. Pretty drama-free. There's no dead spot. They corner well. They roll well. They're just kind of a good, if you want a fast rolling trail tire and you're willing to give up, you know, the cornering knobs are not massive by any stretch. The other thing I like about them is there's just a lot of tread. There's not a lot of big open space, and that goes a long way for stopping punctures. So I don't know, I'd buy them again. No problem. They're pretty drama free, I have to say. So yeah, as far as a bike, if you just want to go ride all day but still want to have fun going downhill, if you've got flow trails and do some jumps, man, this bike's hard to beat. I've been very impressed with it. I'm especially impressed with the rear suspension. I've never had a Giant. I don't know about Maestro, but I'm a believer now for sure. And I'm definitely a believer in this Manitou fork. There's just one problem with it that I didn't anticipate, and that is if you have a bike rack that clamps down, usually on the front of the fork where the arch is, you cannot use it, or you will be clamping onto your stanchions, and that's bad. So I have had to revert to a tailgate pad until such time as I could get something like a 1-Up or any other rack that clamps on the tires. So that's it for my bike review. You can always put questions in the comments if I didn't answer something you want. I like responding to those. I'll give you as much detail as I can. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.